Now examples, and we shall become, and we wrap up with the table. Hopefully we inshallah answer your question. Hadith of the zikr gatherings, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned dua, making dua for yourself in the graveyard. How did Muslim scholars understand this throughout Islamic history? What did they say? And I believe that Shaykh Taqiyuddin ibn Taymiyyah, Allah have mercy on him, accepts that from the 2nd Islamic century onwards, this was a practice of going to the graves of the pious. So let's just look at some examples. Sir A'lam al-Nubala, it's a work by Imam al-Dhahabi, who is a student of Shaykh Taqiyuddin ibn Taymiyyah, and he's loved by Salafi scholars as well. And he's a very sober Sunni scholar. But inshallah, he's a great lover of the Prophet ﷺ, if you read his work as well. Said in the entry of Sayyidina Nafisa alayhi salam, so one of the Ahl al-Bayt, it is said, so this Imam Dhahabi is around 8th century Hijri. So about 700 years ago approximately, if I recall correctly. It is said she was from the pious women worshippers, and that dua by her grave is answered. Likewise, it is answered, dua is answered by the graves of the prophets and the righteous in mosques, Arafah, Muzdalifah, in a permitted journey, because a traveler, his dua is answered. In the prayer at the time before dawn, so if you get up before dawn and make dua, it's a blessed time. From parents dua is blessed for their children. A person when absent from his brother, so you make dua for another person who's not around, that dua has extra blessing in it. A person in difficulty, that all these things are blessed. So the point of this is that Imam Dhahabi, he sees no problem. He doesn't think it's bid'ah, he doesn't think it's dangerous, it's going to lead towards shirk, although he does criticize ignorant Sufis, obviously, without doubt. It's not a problem for them mentioning this. That's the point of this example. But that's not the only example. Carrying on, I've got some examples here. Isti'ab, which is a work Ibn al-Qasim from Malik, Imam Malik, who said, "It has reached me that health and rain is sought through the grave of Abu Ayyub in Rome," meaning Istanbul. So Imam Malik saying this, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari's maqam, his mazar, his grave, health and rain is sought. People go there, make dua for rain at his maqam. Tariq Tabari, another early work, Abdurrahman bin Rabi' al-Bahili, he was buried in the land of the Turks, and they seek rain by means of him until now. The point is, these people are mentioning this without any kind of problem. For them, it's not a problem, they're just mentioning it as it's something which is normal. Then it says, Ma'rifat Sahaba Abu Naim, in the biography of Abu Talha bin Ubaidullah, Allah be pleased with him, Abu Bakr ibn Abi Asim said, "I saw a group of the people of knowledge and virtue, if they were concerned about a matter, went to his grave and gave him salam, made dua to Allah in his presence, and would come to know of it being answered. Our shuyukh told us that they saw those before them doing this." Another example, Mashahir Ulama al-Amsar, Ibn Hibban. So Ibn Hibban is a famous Imam of Hadith. Zayd bin Ali bin Hussein bin Ali bin Abi Talib, on the Ahl al-Bayt. There are few who intend his grave for a need and make dua to Allah there. So make dua to Allah there with reverence, except that they are answered. Tariq Baghdad, Abu Abdullah bin al-Mahamili said, "I have known of the grave of Ma'ruf al-Karhi for 70 years. No person who is burdened with worries intends it, except that Allah removes their worries." And going on, Imam al-Qurtubi said, his Ma'ruf al-Karhi's grave, cure is sought by it, Allah is supplicated by it, an ill person is cured and their need is fulfilled, such that the people of Baghdad say the grave of Ma'ruf al-Karhi is a proven medicine. That's what the people of Baghdad are saying. Now Ibn Jawzi says, Hussein bin Ibrahim al-Khalal said, "No matter concerns me except that I intend the grave of Musa bin Ja'far and make tawassal by means of it, except that Allah makes easy for me that which I love." Imam Ibn Jawzi, famous Hanbali scholar there. Once again, they're just citing this as it's something normal, going to a grave. It's not a problem for them. You know, the shirk alert doesn't flash up in their mind. Okay, which shows you that what's going on here. Why are all these scholars, and these are not just anybody, these are great scholars that many of them the Salafi school respect. Why are they mentioning these things? And what does that mean about Islamic history? That shirk and bid'ah were well, they don't say shirk, but it says it's a means to shirk. But bid'ah was, this haram action was prevalent in Muslim societies amongst scholars as well. Think about scholars saying this and not mentioning, not rebuking this. Not to say that they didn't critique un-Islamic practices. We already mentioned what Imam Shawkani said. They did critique un-Islamic practices, but on this issue, they don't have a problem. Then it says, Imam Ibn Jawzi said in the Manaqib of Ahmed, so the great qualities of Imam Ahmed, Abdullah bin Musa said, I went out with my father on a dark night to visit Ahmed, meaning the grave of Imam Ahmed. We went out to visit the grave of Imam Ahmed. The night was very dark. My father said, oh my son, come, let us make tawassul to Allah by means of this pious servant, such that the path will become clear for us. I have for 30 years not made tawassul by means of him, except my need has been fulfilled. Meaning, oh, let's make dua, oh Allah, clear the pathway, clear this pathway for us to the grave by the rank and status of Imam Ahmed. And he said, I've been making this dua for 30 years, except my need has been fulfilled. My father then proceeded to make dua, and I said Ameen to it. We then found that the sky became bright, the night of a full moon, and this was until we reached him, meaning the grave of Imam Ahmed. And Ibn Jawzi mentions it without any kind of issue. That this is, look at, and he's mentioning it, the manaqib means the good qualities. Look at the good qualities of Imam Ahmed, that people make dua and mention his name, and the dua is answered. Tahdhib al-Tahdhib, this is quite interesting. Ibn Khuzaymah, famous hadith scholar, said, we set out with the Imam of the people of hadith. So this is early hadith scholar, Abu Bakr ibn Khuzaymah, along with a group of our teachers who were at the time many in number, to visit the grave of Ali bin Musa al-Rida in Tus. That's in Iran, modern Iran. He said, I saw from his Ibn Khuzaymah's honoring of that place, humility and reverence of it, that which astonished us. So they said when we went there, the way that he was behaving, the amount of humility he had for the grave, the person buried there, he goes, we were astonished how humble he was there and how he was behaving. And obviously he's setting out with a group of people. He's saying, I want to go and visit the grave of Ali bin Musa al-Rida. So this is Ibn Khuzaymah, and this, the same person, Ali bin Musa, Imam Ibn Hibban, famous hadith scholar, Imam, well respected. He's all well respected people. Ali bin Musa al-Rida, his grave is in Sinabad outside of Nukan. I have visited it on numerous occasions. I did not experience any difficulty during my time of residence in Tus, and visited the grave of Ali bin Musa al-Rida, salutations of Allah upon him, upon his grandfather and him, and supplicated to Allah for its removal from me, except that I was answered and that difficulty was removed from me. This was something I tested a number of times and found to be true. That's what Imam Ibn Hibban is saying. I went to the grave of this famous Imam from the Ahl al-Bayt, made dua to Allah there, made dua to Allah, and my dua was answered. And he tested this a number of times. So Allah is being asked there. And Shadarat al-Dhahb, I believe this is a Hanbali Imam who has this biographical work. Khairuddin Khalil bin Qasim bin Haji Safra al-Hanafi, he was a person of miraculous feats. Dua is answered by his grave. Once again mentioning it, it's something normal. Shadarat al-Dhahb, Nasr bin Ibrahim bin Dawood, the Shaykh of the Shafis in Sham. He was buried by Bab al-Saghir, and his grave is visible and visited. I know we said, I have heard from the Shuyukh that dua by his grave on a Saturday is answered. That's what the scholars are saying. Damascus without any kind of problem. Once again, Shadarat al-Dhahb again, Abu Bakr bin Dawood, the Salihi al-Hanbali. Shab ibn Haji said he was accounted amongst the Salihin and he was upon the way of the Sunnah. Shaykh Ibrahim bin Ahadab said in his book, dua by his grave is answered. And once again, this Hanbali scholar mentioning this in the bio of Nuruddin Zangi, it is reported that dua by his grave is answered, and then it is said that he was buried with 3 hairs from the beard of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Once again, Shadarat al-Dhahab, Hafiz Abu Fadl al-Tamim al-Ahnafi al-Hamdani Shahrawi said he was from the pillars of the hadith, pious and scrupulous. He did not fear the criticism of others, and he has a number of works. He died in Sha'ban, and dua by his grave is answered. And I'm a number of them, but this is just a few examples. Ibn Qudama, once again, loved by the Salafis ulama, his Aqidah books are studied. He says, they, meaning scholars, pious ulama, not just anybody, pious ulama, they are the refuge of creation at the times of difficulty. Kings and less than them and their visitation seek blessings through their dua and intercede via them to Allah the Exalted. And at the verbal mention, the dhikr of our salihin, our pious people, mercy descends, hearts are illuminated, dua is answered, and difficulty is removed. By mentioning that our awliya, pious people, dua is answered. That's what Ibn Qudama says, and his Aqidah book is studied in Saudi Arabia. Ulamatul I'tiqad, it may be studied in this town, or in the UK at least. Carrying on, and just a few slides just to wrap up. Tariq al-Islam, Al-Khal'i said, the Shaykh, Imam Faqih, the exemplar, Al-Khal'i. Once again, Imam Dhahabi said, Al-Khal'i, the Shaykh, Imam Faqih, the exemplar, the Hadith master of Egypt. Ibn al-Mati said, the grave of Al-Khal'i in Khurafa, this is in Cairo, is known as the grave of the Qadi of Jinn and men. Don't know what that means. And it is known that dua is answered by it. Once again, Imam Dhahabi, Ibn Khalikan said, Bakar bin Tayyiba was a reciter of the Quran, would weep much, pious. His grave is well known, as is the answering of dua by it. Tariq al-Islam of Dhahabi, Saleh bin Yunus, Abu Shu'aib al-Wasiti al-Zahid, he was from the great Sufis. Dua is answered by his grave. So I've lost track there of how many there are there, but it's just many, many examples. It was widespread from the early 2nd century, I believe, onwards. Widespread. Abu Bakr bin Muhammad bin Rahim bin Ahmad al-Dustani Shahrawi said, he was trustworthy and well qualified. I heard a number of people say, no man has a need related to the world or afterlife who visits his grave and makes dua except that Allah answers it. Remember, making dua to Allah, Allah answers it. He, Shahrawi, said, I tested this and found it true. So one other again, the person who's tested it, and he said,